All right, what is up, guys? So today I'm just going to do a quick BTC update. This is going to be a little bit technical and also just purely my arbitrary thoughts. So let's just get into it. So we started off the last time that I did a BTC video specifically was somewhere around here, where I was basically saying, this time around, I'm not really all that appealed to buying the dip because at this point, I don't really see it as a dip anymore, and I'll show you why. And so, yeah, that actually ended up working pretty beautifully. I assessed market structure on the daily, and I actually said that this was our high or low. This would be a lower high then. And then upon losing 4 hour 200 moving averages and breaking the daily market structure, per my perception, my interpretation of market structure, we are actually downtrending now. So when we come into this kind of region, when we have 200 daily EMA, we have 21.5K daily demand, previous range highs for these 5 months, right? We have this like confluence in major support across high time frames. I'm not really inclined to be dip buying at that point because I don't perceive it as a dip anymore. I see it as a downtrend, right? And it's that kind of like meme, but it's not really that much of a meme where you're begging for a pullback. I want my pullback. Oh, I was gonna bid BTC, but we just won't pull back. Oh, I was gonna bid, but how the hell did we find support here? How is that the pullback? We front ran my bids. Oh my gosh, I was begging for a pullback. Oh my gosh, I was begging. This is not really that massive of a drop, so on and so forth. And then it's like, okay, well, here you got your pullback along the same region, right? That you got your pullback along this time around. And, now everyone and their mother is getting that pullback, right? So it's probably the time that you don't want to buy that pullback. But actually attributing some sort of real TA to that, right? So we were using 4 hour 200s, called this region out, said that it was a pivot zone, said that it was a very key level, and this will come back and be relevant again, when we make our current analysis. But basically saying like this is the do or die kind of region, 4 hour 200 moving averages, daily market structure would ideally hold here and then therefore continue, right, in the form of a higher high, which obviously we didn't really do, and then continue that same exact uptrend, the same reasoning that we had to flip bullish all the way back down here, right? Which allows us the luxury of looking like a complete fucking idiot when we're bullish at the top, right? And then flipping bearish here and saying, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to buy the dip anymore because it's not really a dip. So all you plebs who sat on the sideline or shorting this entire rally, right, or trying to make arguments as to why this time was different, we would bleed through and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all you guys who are just now starting to, get the memo that this is an uptrend and this is bullish and we're probably going to continue heading to the top right corner. And you're just now thinking, oh, wow, prices, granting my wishes and giving me a dip and giving me a dip and giving me a dip, right? You guys are probably wrong again. So, I don't want to be on the same side as you. I want to be trading whatever the trend is. And it just so happened to work out beautifully, right? The market doesn't move in straight lines, but when it does, it absolutely rewards these trend kind of, mindsets. So, not going to buy the dip. And then we kind of crash, right? And then this is exactly where that stablecoin FUD happens, and starts to really creep into people's minds and scare me. And I said it publicly in many different mediums, as well as discords and a few friends and tweet replies. I bought the bottom on BTC, and it was a total fluke. It wasn't because we tested the daily 200 MA. It wasn't because we tested mid range. I'm not the kind of person who's going to swing trade mid range. I'm not just going to arbitrarily buy this green line, right? I didn't buy the blue line above it with a more significant support level in my perception. Right. So I'm not going to buy the green line below it with a less significant support level, mid range, right? That doesn't make any sense. In no world, from a technical perspective, am I able to justify buying BTC. That moment when stablecoins are depegging and banks are having these bank runs and collapsing, that moment is one of the only times in my trading career and the only time in the past 3 years where fundamentals took a priority over technicals, right? So at that point, I need to kind of refrain from looking at the chart at that point. I don't care if we're at mid range or thin air, right? White space or a key support. I don't give a shit at that point. I'm just going to buy BTC because that's literally what it was created for. Stablecoin DPEGs, right? Being your own, custody for your own cash, I guess, your own net worth, right? So just a very basic understanding of fundamentals, and that alone put me in a position where I was able to succeed. So from there, the chart took priority and TA took priority, and we kind of just said, "F you, we're not going to give you any pullbacks at all whatsoever because on the daily there's no structure, right? There's absolutely zero structure on the daily from here to here. It's all just one higher high. So at that point, I don't give a shit if you're saying that, this is the higher high that we need to break. I'm sorry, the lower high that we need to break to shift market structure bullishly on the daily, or if you're saying this high, or if you're saying this high, it's all just one move, right? It's all just one vertical. You are either buying the 15-minute 200 moving averages. All right, so let me show you this. You were either buying the 15-minute 200 moving averages or you were getting front ran on your bids, right? Or trying to revenge short or sitting sidelined. There's not really much that you can do other than those kinds of options, right? So no structure on the daily, up only. That's where the FA, the fundamentals come in. They put you in a position. The TA takes over. There's no reason to exit the position, right? There's zero reason to be capitulating your position when we're uptrending along all time frames and the higher time frame trend, a 40% rally over the course of 10 days is being sustained along 15-minute 200 moving averages, right? There's zero chance in hell that you flip that and make it look bearish at all whatsoever. There's no way. It's not possible, right? But at the same time, there's that thought that creeps in the back of our head that is like, okay, well, obviously this is overextended. This is kind of, extreme 15-minute 200s, 40% move, 10 days into weekly resistance, right? So now we're at weekly resistance, but the trend is still extreme. So what are we doing here? It's kind of like that analogy. I'm not sure how it goes. I'm sure I'm going to butcher it, but it goes something along the lines of like when an immovable force meets an immovable object meets an unstoppable force, right? So it's like we have this extreme trend that is up only 40% over the course of 10 days along 15-minute 200 moving averages, right? But at the same time, we have a weekly supply zone, a weekly resistance level. So what do, right? You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Well, something has to happen. Either the trend continues and it persists above the weekly resistance, in which case you're then allowed to assume I can just simply target whatever the next major resistance level is, right? In this case, for me, that would be somewhere around 37K. So once we break out above this weekly resistance, which it's not just going to happen in the drop of a dime, I will try and scale my assumptions up into playing into that in a more actionable manner. But obviously, this block alone is like a 10% range, so it's not very actionable, right? But I will try and at least make that analysis so that I can hopefully play into that analysis when and if the time comes. If that is the thing that takes priority, right? If the trend continues trending. If instead the weekly resistance level wants to reject us and give us something more significant that we have not seen this entire rally upwards, other than right pullbacks into your 15-minute 200 moving averages, and we want to finally lock in a higher low on the daily market structure, then something has to happen in order for that to start to come into play, right? Come into fruition. So we have to lose the 15-minute 200s, right? We have to. There's no way that you can build a snowman without forming a snowball first, right? Everything has to start somewhere. So the way that I'm perceiving this and the way that I have been able to adjust and flow with whatever price action is doing is I just simply assess the 15-minute 200 moving averages. If you guys recall, I had this like little time frame or low time frame speculation where these like three equal drives and then a sweep of those highs tends to mean, right, a sweep of those highs and then immediate closure back below tends to mean a local, if not a macro kind of top, right? So that was a speculative bearish argument, and it was just simply, well, okay, well, I know we are overextended, right? It's that Soros quote, I believe, who said something along the lines of like, when the trend has played out to excess, or when I perceive that the trend has played out to excess, I may probe against it, right? So 40%, 10 days, long 15-minute 200s, and then three equal highs, sweeping those highs, immediately closing back below, right? That's enough. In doing all of that at weekly resistance, that's enough to at least turn on the light bulb in my head that makes me think, maybe this is overextended a little bit. Maybe we found, maybe a local top. We're finally ready to pull back deeper, right? Obviously, I will always put priority on trading the trend. That is the sort of, flow that I go with. That's my motto, or that's my mantra, I guess. But I will probe against it, right? I'm willing to probe against it because it is somewhat excess per my perception, my definition of excess, right? So it actually goes on to play out because not only did I have those speculative thoughts, but then I'm able to compound onto those thoughts with a loss of the trend, right? So in my head, that's now a snowball that has been formed. So from there, we either continue ramping up the snowball and compounding into it, which means that we will at least get to those 4 hour 200 moving averages, that 25K daily demand zone, which by the way, we also have weekly 200 moving averages along with that region. Or we're going to crush that snowball of weakness and just simply continue the uptrend, right? And the same trend that we had into that, resistance in the first place will likely just continue trending. Well, obviously, neither of those happened. So we tested a somewhat more significant high time frame, but obviously lower time frame than the 4 hour chart. We tested the hourly 200 moving averages. We found support along those, and then that actually, right, rather than just being support and then bouncing price, we actually showed enough support, enough strength to reclaim the trend. So upon reclaim, I'm automatically forced to assume, never mind, that was the low. I can't assume these bids anymore. We're probably just going to run it back turbo. 15-minute 200 has been reclaimed. Market structure is still fully intact. The same plebs that have been begging for a deeper pullback, all throughout this price action, they're going to keep begging and begging and begging and begging because that was probably the low and they're missing out, right? And if you apply this mindset over the long period of time, right? So apply it somewhere like here, you make the exact same analysis. Oh, look at this extreme trend. People are begging for a pullback. They're begging for it. Okay, you guys are finally probably going to get a pullback. Congratulations. We might pull back into mid range. We might pull back into range lows. And then it's like, oh, never mind. Sorry. Here's the reclaim. That's the strength coming back in again. We crushed your snowball of weakness. We went back to the snowman across, all time frames of bullish arguments. That was probably the low. Run it back turbo and continue the trend, right? And that's exactly what happens. And if you're working out the math on that, if it happens half the time, it plays out beautifully and exactly how you anticipated with continuation of trend, and then half the time it doesn't, and it ends up breaking back down below that trend, right, and then starts chopping. Well, that's 50-50. But when you have 6 hour trades on the former, and it's 50-50, you do the math, right, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's a winning mindset long term. So that is absolutely the assumption that I had here. And I was totally wrong, right? From here, the adjustment that's necessary is, so I'm giving you guys a whole rundown of how, start to finish. The adjustment that's necessary is, right, upon doing this, so we assumed uptrend, right, for 10 days, 40% move, uptrend along 15-minute 200s. Then we assumed downtrend, right? And then the next day, we're forced to assume uptrend again. But now the market wants us to assume downtrend again. But now the market wants us to assume uptrend again. So you do the math here, right? 10 days, 40% move, one bias, right? Fundamentally, it starts and then TA takes over. The chart starts to head to the top right corner, right? I have a tweet somewhere that says, something along the lines of like at 19K or a 19.9, whatever it was. I'm not bullish here, but I'm bullish from a fundamental standpoint because that's literally what Bitcoin was created for. But the chart is still headed to this bottom right corner, right? And it starts to head to the top right corner on a small scale, and then it compounds, right? And then that snowball continues to compound, and it continues and it continues, and suddenly you don't really have any bearish arguments anymore. Your bearish argument is, oh, we're testing a resistance level. Cool. Did we not test 18 resistance levels on the way up into this price action or this price action or this price action or this price action? Right. So, how do you know that this time's different? And it's like, well, you don't. So, one bias, right? One bias for 10 days and 40%. And suddenly you take on one, two, three bias shifts in 3 days, right? 10 days, one outlook. 3 days, three different outlooks. Maybe you're just getting chopped at that point, right? Maybe suddenly the mindset that has rewarded you is no longer rewarding you, and you can probably see that in your P&L, right? If you're trading that price action actively, if you are going short here, right, and then you anticipate the retest, maybe you compound into that entry, maybe you just hold and let it, run back to break even or stop you out, and you try and long the retest, right? And then again, you get stopped out eventually, right? And then, oh, now you're bearish again. So hopefully the sort of like light bulb goes off that makes you think, maybe, just maybe, because I'm applying the same mindset that I had for the 2 weeks prior, right? That worked beautifully. And suddenly within the past 3 days, it has not worked all that well. Maybe I need to take 2 steps back and totally reassess the approach, right? So that's the mindset that I shifted into. And from there, I just basically said, I don't care what happens anymore. I don't care if we're above or below the 15-minute 200s because they're only going to give me insight relatively, like generally speaking, from this low to that high. And I really could not care less about this 5% range. So I don't care about price action until we break out of the range. If we break out of the range, right, that is the sort of signal, and I hate this word so much with a passion, the confirmation, right? Nothing ever gets confirmed in markets, but it's just attributes a higher set of probabilities, right? A deeper conviction in something. So it's the like confirmation that, oh, never mind, this was actually the bottom. We're probably going to form a trend along hourly 200s now. So if any slight pullbacks, let's look for those and see if we can find higher highs, or I'm sorry, higher lows on our 4-hour market structure along hourly 200s, and then go from there and maybe look for trend continuation. Obviously we would anticipate higher highs in the daily, maybe even a full breakout above this weekly resistance level, right? And then therefore maybe even a push into like 37K, things that, resistance levels that people deem unfathomable at this very moment, right? And again, why? Because 40% uptrend in 10 days, right? So it's that kind of a market. Nothing is ever unfathomable, right? Just like you might not be able to fathom the fact that now that we're breaking down below the range and we're losing something like hourly 200s, right? We very well may give you that deeper pullback that you and your grandmother have been begging for, right? Into the ideal region where we would anticipate a higher low on our daily market structure. We have so much confluence in that region as a whole. So in my mind, that's the pivot point, right? That's the sort of do or die. If you either hold this region or it's lights out, kind of stupid shit, whatever it is, right? That's how I'm perceiving that level. But at least I'm allowed to start anticipating price action into that level so that when and if we get there, I wasn't the idiot who was like, oh my gosh, is this the bounce? Is that the bottom? I'm not going to get my entry. Oh my God, I'm not going to get my entry. Oh my God, I'm not going to get my entry. Oh my God, that was probably a sweep of the lows. I'm not going to get my entry, right? That's never my biggest fear. My biggest fear is I will get my entry and then some, just like I did back here, right? Worked beautifully this time around. Exact bottom, just how we assessed it, right? Same thing here, literally copy and paste the same exact mindset, bottom for a couple days at least, right? And obviously it was wrong. So I got my bids and then some, right? That was my biggest fear. I never had a fear of, oh my gosh, am I going to get the bottom? Oh my gosh, am I going to get filled in my entries? Oh, am I going to get a deeper pullback? Oh, is this it? That was never my fear because price action on all these time frames is bearish, right? It's downtrending. We're below the range. We're losing hourly 200s. We were already below those 15-minute 200s. That gave us the momentum to break down below the range, right? Again, it's the snowball. It started to form. So at the moment, it's more of like a large snowball, but we still have that snowman of bullish arguments in our front lawn. It didn't just go away because suddenly some dude managed to, form a pretty decently sized snowball of bearish arguments. It didn't just melt, right? It's still there. High time frame trend bullish, low time frame trend bearish, right? So how do you approach that? And it's like moving forward, right? I'm allowed to continue assuming that we will pull back into 25K, where we have 4 hour 200 moving averages, daily demand, and 200 weekly moving averages. And from there, I'm going to speculate that that's the ideal zone to find a higher low on the daily. And if we can't do it there, then we're probably not going to do it at all. This analysis sound familiar to you guys? Right? Same exact thing back here, right? So that was the assumption last time. If this mindset continues to reward me, which it is the mindset I've been using for the past 3 or 4 years now, so I will continue applying it because it has absolutely continued to reward me, right? That's the assumption. And so, as long as we remain below the range, we remain downtrending, we remain below hourly 200s, and we remain below those 15-minute 200s, there's zero reason for me to assume that I will not get my pullback into at least 25K, right? So what happens if all of the things that I just mentioned are no longer true? We're now not below the range anymore. We're not below the 15-minute 200s. We're not below the hourly 200s. Our market structure is bullish on low time frames. What happens? Suddenly, I cancel these bids, right? I just kind of stop looking for this region. I stopped paying attention to it because you know what? In hindsight, this was probably a deviation upon price action that looks like that, right? And then when you go out to your hourly on price action, that looks like this, right? So at that point, it's probably a deviation back inside of the range, back above the low time frame trend per trail, right? On both the hourly and the 15-minute. And in hindsight, when you zoom out to the daily, you will likely see that on your structure, that will have been the higher low that you knew you were looking for, because even a 4-year-old can look at this chart with this price action that I circled, or this price action that I circled, or this price action that I circled, and tell you that, yep, that's an uptrend. We're heading to the top right corner, right? So that's how I'm looking to adjust. That's how my brain works, time frame to time frame, and I just kind of try and give myself levels to work with and an actionable analysis, regardless of what happens. Right? It's that last part is really key. So a lot of the time, if you ask me for my thoughts on something, I'm going to give you a two-part analysis. Right? I'm anticipating primarily a pullback into 25K, but if X, Y, and Z happens, I will stop anticipating that and I will have and take on a totally different assumption. And then all of my further analysis, right, from future analysis will stem based on the adaptation, right, that I had previously. It's never flippy floppy, I'm going to go back and, oh, I played this chess piece, but never mind. I want to go back 2 turns and play a different chess piece. You have to play based on whatever analysis you gave yourself, right? Whatever position you put yourself in, whatever chess piece that you put yourself in, whatever domino that you decided to knock over, right? That's what you have to play off of. So if you're the person who, oh my gosh, so up or down, haha, wow, great, thank you so much. No, you're a loser, right? You're an absolute loser. You're not going to make it. You're betting on one outcome. You need and rely on the market to play out with that one outcome. That's how I got humbled in March of 2020, right? So ever since then, totally different mindset, totally different approach to the market. And, I very much enjoy where my portfolio is is at due to that kind of a mindset. So in my head, that is a winner's mindset, and I'm able to adapt and ebb and flow with whatever the market does from here. And that's exactly how I'll do it. Is the past 20 minutes of me rambling or so. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it provides value to you. If you guys want to support me, I am doing an iPhone 14 giveaway to anyone on my Bybit referral link. All you have to do is sign up, register an account under the Bybit referral link. Link is in the description below. And then you deposit $100 and you make one trade, and that makes you eligible to potentially win an iPhone 14. So that giveaway ends the end of this month. So you have about 4 more days to participate. So if you're interested, then get in. I do try and give back to people on my referral link. For February, I give away $500 to 2 different people. That's $250 each. And I will do more and more as things progress, and maybe my brand or my influence gets bigger, or more people get on the referral link, or So I do want to thank you guys, and try and show love back to you. And I do thank you very much for supporting me and supporting these videos and supporting me on Twitter and whatnot. So thank you guys so much. I hope you're getting value from this stuff. Much love, and take it easy.